So listen, we are jumping in. I'm gonna just cut the music because we're not gonna do a long, drawn out like welcome or anything like that. I'm just gonna say hi, everybody. Me and Tammy are here. Yes, I hope you guys are watching live. We are posting this. We tried something new today with our Give It Get It Biz series. And we have a different little studio thing, which is in the background. You guys don't need to worry about that. But just we're going to be broadcasting on 3 different platforms. So it's going to be on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and also on YouTube today. And part of this is our Give It Get It Biz series because we have our membership that we started in January. And what we want to do is highlight some fabulous members. So maybe if you would have been a member, you might have been highlighted, but you didn't join yet. So I suggest you go to give it to the, give it to the people. Go to giveitgetit.biz, which I will have run across the screen. So you can go ahead and join and be a member while we're here. This is going to be a quick little 30-minute something to get you involved so that you can meet one of our fabulous members who is super supportive. Okay, let me just say that off top. And so the thing is, the whole point of us having this membership was to be supportive to other people. So I'm going to bring on Amanda. And Amanda, how are you today?
I'm great. Glad to be here.
Yes. So before we jump in and get all in depth, I'm going to give them some little background about, why we started this and what the whole thing is. But I just wanted you to tell them what even made you say, listen, let me join this membership in the first place? Because I always think that it's something that attracts people, but what even made you say, yeah, I'm going to join this membership?
Yeah. So, I mean, look at you. Look at how brightly colored you are, my dear. So I'm like, I want to be around that energy. I want to be around the people who are around that energy. And we connected at an Echo event a while back, and I'm like, yeah, gotta find out what's going on in the world of CHISA. So,
okay.
Press the button, stepped in. Glad to be here.
Okay, well, that's great. So Amanda, let me go ahead and I'm going to change up the screen a little bit so you guys can see over here. So with this, and hold up, I might even want to change it a little bit differently. Hold on. I'm doing a lot here. This is what happens when you play around with technology in a new way. And I always like to see some new stuff. So for us, let me go ahead on this so you can see. So this particular series is really designed so that you can get some clarity, some actionable insights so that other business owners can know that, maybe they're going through the same thing, or maybe there's another person that they didn't even know that can help solve their problems. So we partner with government agencies, organizations, and everything so that we can make this complex stuff simple. It used to be called From Chaos to Control, but we decided to change that because we just want to go keep everything the same. So Give It, Get It Biz series. And this particular series, I really like it because it gives people the opportunity to see that there are other resources that are in the world. So if you said you're interested in joining, you can again go right there to giveitgetit.biz, and you can go ahead and scan the QR code, or you can type it in and you can join now. And I like it because it gives us the opportunity to really be in a position where there are things that we can do to help people. So we put out classes on a monthly basis. We send out emails that have all kinds of helpful tips and things like that. But one of the things that we really wanted to get into as we got more members was to say, let's highlight those members. So Amanda, I'm going to start with, tell them about Amanda Gustafson company, like your whole everything that you do, which is comprised of business coaching, and then the in-depth little part of that, like if you want to go a little bit deeper. And then I have plenty of questions for you.
Okay. All right. So the short, sweet version of it is that I love being the second banana, like the one that helps the things happen behind the scenes. Sure, it's great being on stage sometimes, but getting everything working is a really lovely thing. So what I do is I work with business owners to help them design the business so it can run without them. Mm-hmm. And as you'd imagine, that is not like an overnight task. So it's a full year coaching. The process is, the first 3 months is to quick wins, learn the material, get the first start of it. And then it becomes a really digging in quarterly, how we're going to get you step by step to the point where you can take unplugged vacations, or if you wanted to step out of being there all the time, you certainly could. So that's what I do with small business owners.
Do you find a lot of resistance? Because I think that one of the biggest things is we say we want all of what you just offered. We want to unplug. We want to do all of these vacations, and we want to just do what we want to do when we want to. And that's why I try to tell people business is freedom. But once you get free and you're the boss and you can make all of those decisions, you still have to understand that if you go a lot of days without making any money, there won't be any money coming in, right? And so do you get a lot of resistance to people who say, yeah, I want this coaching, but then they get into it and they're like, I don't know, am I accountable now?
Oh, well, so to be clear, I this is a transition for me. So what I've been doing up till now mostly has been operations coaching with a focus on Salesforce. So this is a transition. I will say that of course people, come get in and fear. I mean, this is many people think of this as their baby, right? It's their business is their baby. And so it's hard to let your baby grow up, right? And so that's part of what goes on is, saying, okay, can I let my baby become a teenager and maybe have the keys to the car, right? Like, can I be, start taking the steps of trusting that my team can make good decisions without me being there over their shoulder all the time. But yes, I mean, people get into business because they are excellent at what they do, just brilliant at what they do. And that transition from being the one who's brilliant at doing it and then wears all the hats to being the one who is brilliant at leading it and puts down some of those. That's a tough one. It's a tough one.
It is. Now, when in your bio, she lists intellectual, financial, and time as those are the main three things that people, want to get free from that she can help you with. And so your work is revolving around that. Why do you think so many entrepreneurs struggle to prioritize all three? So, yeah, you got the baby. I'm going to try to let the baby grow up. But my mind is like, oh my goodness, all three. Now, for me, I personally think that might not necessarily be a hard thing because I will turn my phone off. I have now a good hard stop at 9:00. I try not to take calls after 6 if possible. I mean, unless it's like pressing. I take time for myself. I know where the money needs to be, and then I'm always looking for more money, right? So I think I try my best to do that. But what is that struggle for entrepreneurs? Like, why can't they prioritize all three?
I think sometimes, okay, so also when you look at my background, I've got a master's in counseling. So that comes in when I think about this with people. So when you think about things, there can be a motivation issue and there can be a skill issue. And sometimes you think you've got a motivation issue because, I want it, but I don't, when really you have a skill issue, right? You think, say, those of us who want to improve our health, we think we know what we need to do. But if we really knew like the little next step to do, life would be a lot easier, right? It's the whole idea of like, it's overwhelming. I have to change everything all at once and, prepare to run a marathon and change my diet. But we get the same kind of thinking when it comes to designing our business to run in a different way. And really it's a matter of looking, okay, small incremental steps, build the trust step by step so that you can turn off the phone because you have built that trust, right? With your team, that you have seen enough that you can say, yeah, they got it, unless there's a, fire or a flood, I trust my team to take care of what needs to happen, right?
So now you said a big word there, team. Everybody doesn't have a team.
That's true.
So then they have to trust themselves to stop doing some things. Or is it like build a team in order to scale? Like maybe you need contractors, maybe because I mean, some people are in different places with what they do. So the question would be, what if it's just me and I don't really have a team? Like, what do I do to even get to that point? Because The thing is, and I've said this about myself. So if it's just me and I'm doing all of the things, how much can I scale? The biggest thing is
Mm-hmm.
to charge more, right? Charge
Right.
more, because that's the most immediate thing that can happen. And so we did that. But then
Mm-hmm.
you charge more and it's still you. So then do you get to the point where it's like, okay, well, now I realize I need a team. I can start hiring people and letting them help me do things.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I my ideal is working with somebody who has already taken that step, built a small team. All right.
Okay.
So I love you. I love you, solopreneurs. I am one of you. I get it.
Uh-huh.
And that step is a big one. Yes, truly. So what I would say, again, baby steps. If you are one of those folks that is still in the solo land and maybe you want to stay there, no judgment. I'm mostly going to do that. I'm going to have some contractors, right? So if you're that, then start setting aside money now. Every time you get a chunk of money, every time you make a sale, some portion of that needs to go into your future contractor fund,
Oh.
right? Okay. So just like take it out. You don't get to look at it. You don't get to spend it. It just is going to sit there until you have that depending on, again, trust, how much it is good for you, 3-6 months of that person's what you're going to pay that person,
Uh-huh.
right? So that you can have trust that when you bring someone on, you can ramp them up, get them to the point where they can bring in all the value that they're going to bring, and they don't have to be like making you money day one, right? Because let's be real here. So that those kind of baby steps, again, are you going to like immediately jump into trusting this person, even if you know them and you love them and they've been your best friend forever?
Mm-hmm.
No, right?
Mm-hmm.
They need to know your business.
Mm-hmm.
So same kind of thing when I'm working with teams. Like, we're just going to take pieces, right? One at a time, and do
Mm-hmm.
that business.
No, I mean
Yeah.
that's a good thing, because I think when we look at our businesses, you made a point there when you said even if you've known them for a long time, just because you've known them for a long time does not mean that they should be a part of the business either.
Mm-hmm.
But I do have some friends that I know that if I always said, oh, if I get to be a millionaire, I would definitely hire you, because I know you know what you're doing and you can do this thing, and I could leave and be confident that it would be handled because you know how I like things done, right? And you
Mm-hmm.
don't find that often, right? Like I even think about when I go through a drive-through, or if I go into somewhere with customer service, and the people that are really, really good at customer service, I'm just like, yeah, I would hire you. You know what I mean? Because you can
Mm-hmm.
that they have what it takes in order to be the type of person that you want them to be. And it might just be that you just need to train them to do what you want
Mm-hmm.
them to do. But you can
Yes.
tell inertly that that's in them, that they have that
Yep.
service spirit and that servant
Mm-hmm.
leadership kind of thing with them. And that's an interesting thing. So for you, you've had a very like interesting path. So the counseling, the higher education, real estate, now you're doing the operational coaching. What was it that made you say, this is what I'm meant to do, as opposed to anything else that you've done before?
So, what it comes down to is that freedom piece. So, I reached the point with my real estate portfolio, that at my small business, that I can live what I can call beans and rice on my real estate, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lovely transition to say, okay, now I can really look at who I want to serve, how I want to serve them. And I have been in large organizations, and in large organizations, it's the politics that you are dealing with. And
Yes.
in small organizations, you can make a real impact because you're dealing exactly with the decision makers involved. And the politics are more like, I don't want to hurt this person's feelings because I love them, which is a much better problem to have than, I'm covering my butt because,
Yeah.
I'm
Well, I'm backstabbing somebody because I want
I
to get
got my paycheck, right?
yeah.
So so I'm like, these are my folks. These are, the folks I want to serve. I can, I can go geeky and quote a lot of statistics, but I'm like, these are, I am you. I understand. I want to support. And I think there's a really great place to make that transition, like I talked about, from being the chief everything to being the true CEO and having that leadership role. And that's something that can be taught.
Okay. All right. Now, let me ask you about this. So, the book, Your Money and
Yes.
Your Life. Okay.
Yes.
You said you kind of discovered that in your 20s. And how do
Mm-hmm.
you think that that book shaped your mindset about like freedom and what it means to you in relation to
Mm-hmm.
how you do business? Because I have a book that touched me, and then I'm going to have to throw this story in after you tell me yours.
Yeah. Yeah.
um Outside of that book, Think and Grow Rich, right?
Mm-hmm.
um I had a conversation last week with a young lady, Ednethia, that is based in Charlotte. She works with Score. She has her own company. And I was like, oh yeah, I read that book, right? And the thing is, I read that book when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
So now, being older and going through some things, what the book means to me now might be a lot different. And I might be
Mm-hmm.
more cynical now, honestly, than I was then. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So with that book, and I'll type it in for everybody, Your Money and Your Life, what helped you to get to, this is where I'm at, this is what I want to do, this is what freedom means to me?
Sure. So one of the big concepts in that book is money is something you exchange your life energy for.
Mm,
So doing the calculation to say, okay, am I exchanging my, if I have a paycheck and I'm making however many dollars per hour,
mhm,
and let's just use 20 because that's an easy number to play with.
mhm,
Okay. So if I am buying $40 worth of groceries, that's 2 hours of my life that I'm spending on my groceries,
mhm,
right? So being able to do that kind of calculation and say, all right, so this is how on the outgo, this is how
mhm,
I'm making decisions about where my life energy is going.
mhm,
And that book is in some ways really written for someone who is getting a paycheck, not necessarily the entrepreneur. So like you say, keeping growing, keeping learning. I'm also a big fan of Mike Michalowicz, and actually I'm certified in his process,
mhm,
Clockwork, which is what I do
mhm,
with these folks, right?
mhm,
Um, so then saying, all right, really the true freedom comes from owning a business, being, getting to that entrepreneurship, and using those skills to really create that freedom. So
mhm,
your time freedom, and your financial freedom. So, yeah, there's a whole movement around FI now, financial independence, and that Your Money, Your Life is one of the original books in it.
mm,
So, yeah.
mm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I like that. Now, the if we go back to, like, let's say Think and Grow Rich. So,
Mm-hmm.
young lady's reading, and she's like, I'm on the third page and I'm stuck, and I can't get past like the third page. And it was so interesting to me because it was really talking about the opportunities that are there.
Mm-hmm.
And I am a big proponent, I've always been, of the SWOT analysis, of looking at yourself to see what you can do better. And I do it very frequently, probably way more than is necessary, because I'm always like, okay, so after every event we usually have a debrief. Most of the time it's right after the event. Okay. Now I'm bringing this up because you were there when we did the
Mm-hmm.
summit at Central and we did the debrief, right? So our thing after every event is to sit, talk with the people that help put it together, and say, okay, well, this is what I heard. This is what I heard. This is what that person said. This was great. The way you did such and such. Oh, it could have been more of this, right? So we do this after every event. And so that's why I'm saying she's been a witness to this, right? And
Yes.
you came up and, we were talking about, like, okay, so what did you like? Like, what could have been better? And to me, those things, that conversation afterwards, that's the opportunity. So if you throw great events, if you have a great product or a great service, that's always at the front of it. But I feel like there should always be an opportunity for you to see what you can do to improve, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in the coaching that you're talking about, to me, it's like, listen, you already have a business, it's working, it's doing good stuff. But if you let me come in and help you, I can then see how we can make those incremental improvements in your business. So can you kind of even just talk to that, like for the event that you were at, that it was at Central, and just what you were thinking about like after the event, because you've been to plenty of events. It's always an event going on.
Sure.
But it's also a reason that you said, okay, let me come to this event specifically.
Yeah. So for me, in my role, it was a matter of getting a chance to sit with the people who were there to listen. Right. So it was a pleasure to sit next to a gentleman who has a concrete business, another lady who has an event business, and really to hear from them what's alive, what's important, what's going on in their business, what's key for them. So great content. And for me, I was there for the audience.
Okay.
Yep.
No, I mean, so when you're like sitting there and observing, right? And you're listening, are you kind of saying, oh, you could be a good client for me? Or listening to say, I know you need my help, but I could tell you're not ready for me. Like, do you get that kind of level of discernment when you're listening to people?
Oh, well, I have part of that freedom is the freedom that everyone gets to make the decision for them. So I'm not going to walk up to you and say, you need me. That's it. No. I'm going to like, that's, we're going to talk. We're going to say, all right, so what's keeping you up at night? Like, what's important to you? And that fellow that I mentioned, the concrete business, he has a friend who has a similar business who had a health problem for a couple, 3 months and couldn't work. And they had sales drop by 50% because he was the guy who could do the sales, right? That's the kind of thing that the coaching that I do is about fixing, is so that nobody is the only person for any of those roles in your business. Let's open that up, right?
Yes.
So that's the kind of thing I'm like, so we're going to talk later. He's busy, but we're going to talk later about how to do that for him so that he doesn't have to, he doesn't have to think about that anymore. He can trust that, if something happens, God forbid, for him or his family, that he can step away for a couple months and things will still run okay. That's what I'm about.
Yeah, no, I like that. So I want to touch on the clockwork because you mentioned that really quickly.
Yeah.
So it's basically like a core methodology that you're using in your coaching. And so for those unfamiliar, can you break down how clockwork helps small teams, how they can build systems and kind of allow them to get to that level of the unplugged vacations that you're talking about?
Absolutely. And, this is a great segue. So you'll see I've got gift.amandagustafson.com under my name. So if you want to see this there's a small 3-step free guide to do it, see what this looks like. No pressure, just take a look.
Okay.
But the idea is we figure out what it is that is really core to your business. So what is it that makes your business the reason why your customers call you, right? So, and then once we know that, then we can make sure that your team is making decisions to protect that, right? Because we don't want them, they could say, let's save some money. Let's get rid of that one thing that is the one thing that your best, your best clients, your best customers love. So let's be careful about these things. That's part of that building that trust. And then we start really breaking down into the granularity of who's doing what, how long is it taking them, what can we get rid of, what can we trash, what can we trim, so what can we streamline, what do we transfer, and then how do we do that? Because that's a process, right, of that building trust and getting things in place. And then it becomes a process of iteration. So that's how it looks. Mm-hmm.
So you're helping, and then just from listening to what you're saying, for them, if they didn't have standard operating procedures, to
Yep.
create that for themselves. So everybody, everybody has an acronym for everything. So I'm just saying the words I was thinking, SOPs.
Right, right, right.
With the acronyms, and it's just like everybody does not know what those acronyms mean. But
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
create standard operating procedures so that
Mm-hmm.
they have a system, because a lot of them don't even have a system. They're just
Mm-hmm.
doing stuff. But then this way, somebody else can learn that, and then the next person can learn it, the next person can learn it, so that this way it
Mm-hmm.
frees you as the owner from having to do everything.
Yep, yep. So, and there's a process for that because you don't automatically know how to do those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And those people who have tried it, it can be easily like just live in a binder somewhere that nobody ever looks at, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now with AI, all these tools, it's much easier to just record and capture what it is that you do.
True.
And then the process is not only to hand off that task, but hand off responsibility for that SOP to the team member. So when they find the better way of doing it, they're the one responsible for recording the better way of doing it.
Let me tell you something. People don't even understand the level of what you just said. So what's crazy is when we started doing Give It to the People, it was in COVID. So Montreux, my husband, the CEO of Give It to the People, I had to show him how to do a lot of the things that I did so that I didn't have to do them. Right. And so I'm like, well, listen, this is how I do it. And I do it this way because my mind thinks in logical steps and processes. But if you find another way to do it that you like that's better, then okay, because there's probably 3 or 4 different ways to do the same thing, right? And so it's so interesting because I've seen how, even with us, how that's worked. But at the same time, it was just like, so he'll do stuff and he'll just be like, okay, well, I got to go ahead and schedule these. And I'm just like, what? And he's like, yeah, because it's this time of the month and this needs to be done and such and such. And it's like not having to think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's so amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So if
Mm-hmm.
you could do that over and over and over again and repeat it. And I mean, I think
Yes.
honestly, that's kind of what I do to help other people, them not
Mm-hmm.
having to think about those things because I already have a process for it. So
Mm-hmm.
that to me is wonderful. I love that. And to me, I think that one of the biggest things that you are really talking about is delegation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you let it go. You don't have to do all the things. And so is there a typical block that you see that people have when they're in teams and they're like, and I've had this happen to me before. Mine, 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 mine. This wasn't even your job, lady. Okay. Why are you over here in this pot? You're supposed to be over there. So
Right.
some people will delegate and then they still want to be in your pot. Like,
Uh-huh.
what is that's like, could you get out of my pot? And if you stayed in
Uh-huh.
your pot, let me stay in my pot. We're still gonna have a wonderful meal, right? But you want to be
Mm-hmm.
in my pot and your seasoning is not, you know what I mean? So that
Yep.
thing, like, what's that mindset block that people can't let go? Is there that you've seen? Because I'm sure it repeats over and over again.
Right. Right. Okay. So first, I want to say that there's a good reason why you have that fear,
Okay.
right? You are not crazy. You are not making stuff up, right? There's a good reason. Okay. So setting that, down for a moment, let's see, what is it that you fear is going to happen if you let that go?
Oh, see,
Yeah.
she
So
asked a good
let's just
question.
pause with that.
That's such a good question. And yeah, I wonder that about, if I could just tell you this, I can't tell you the whole story. So if I could tell you this story, I think that um I haven't thought about the question exactly the way that you posed it, but I did say, does the other person feel like I'm a threat?
Hmm.
Like, that's how I look at things. Like, if I'm here to make things easier and you've already delegated to me, would you just let me do what I'm supposed to do? And I always use the term, those people let me run wild. Let me just do what I want to do because they trust that I'm going to do it. So I think maybe there's a trust element. that's missing. And I think
Mm-hmm.
maybe there's some people are just micromanagers. Some people just don't know how to let go. Like they have a fear, like you said, that it's not going to get done. But I'm just always thinking to myself, like, if you hire a person and this person has shown you that they can get it done, you should just trust the person to get it done, like, but I guess maybe I'm not that fearful of things. And there's always to me a backup, like, well, what if they didn't do something? That doesn't mean that the thing still doesn't need to get done because they didn't do their job. So that's such a good question though. Fear. I think that's the biggest thing that people have. I think it
Mm-hmm.
is just fear of somebody not doing something or being shown up.
Yeah, I mean, all of those are possibles, right? And
Mhm.
so we don't know until we're in that situation with that particular person what
Mhm.
it is there. And so we were talking before, like, part of this conversation is, we're talking to Tuesday, we're talking to Amanda, would we want to work with these people? And it's a matter of like, okay, could I build trust with this person, right? And that's not that I'm going to trust them this minute. No, no, no. You don't know us yet, right? But could
Mhm.
I see that happening, right? And then how do we do that with all of our teams so that we can slowly let go of the pieces that, it's not serving our company, it's not serving us to be doing everything all the time. So then,
Mhm.
yeah, what do we do there?
I like the fact that you ask good questions, though. Like I think, like I said, I didn't think of the question the way that you asked it until you asked it, right? And so then it's
Mm-hmm.
thinking about. I do try for me to put myself in other people's position, but then I
Mm-hmm.
also say, let people do what they're good at, and
Mm-hmm.
that to me is an asset to me,
Mm-hmm.
because for me, I should trust. Like, and I guess I am that person. I trust that if you said you could do such and such, that you're going to do it, that you're not just going to lie to me, that you're not going to scam me, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
put people in positions where I'm like, I can trust that they'll do their job. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
so I was having a conversation last week, and I said, there's a lot of people that I've given them their first opportunity to speak at a conference, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh, I never spoke, but I know you know what you're doing. I can tell business wise. So maybe you just needed the opportunity to be there for you to present, and then you can see how wonderful you are, because I can see it, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
trust that you'll do a good job. And you'd be, oh my God, the people, they'll send me emails the night before. Hey, do you want to read this over? Hey, I'm not reading over your stuff. Just check. Let me. And the reason I'm not doing it is because I want them to know I trust you so
Mm-hmm.
much that, please, I don't need to read it over. Like, if I explain a situation to you
Mm-hmm.
and give you an objectives and tell you what we're trying to do with it, and you understand that, just run with it. Like, let's see. And it's been amazing the amount of people that's like, that was the first time I got to speak, or wow, people gave me such good feedback, or I got clients from that. And it's just like, yeah, because I knew you were good at that thing. So why wouldn't I trust you to do the thing that you said that you were good at? Now, I've
Mm-hmm.
had some times where people have been disappointing. And then, either you don't work with them again, or you give them a second chance if you've seen that they've grown. Those are the only two options that I see
Mm-hmm.
there. Like, okay, maybe you didn't have such and such together yet. So, but it's also in how you treat people. And I think
Mm-hmm.
you have this very calming demeanor. Um, yeah, because it's like Mr. Rogers.
Yeah.
You give me this. Let's just change our shoes. Amanda said, change our shoes. Come on in the house, change your shoes. She
Yeah.
said those shoes are going to be better for delegation. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, delegation shoes. Let's go over here and put on delegation hat. Like, it just is a calming thing that I think that you have, that is probably really good in business situations, because it's probably a lot of chaos, right? And
Mm,
you bring that to people. So I know we said we're not going to stay for an hour. We already went over 30 minutes, but I just need your answer for that. So I want you to answer this question before we go, though. And then thank you so much for the comment. There was a comment that said, definitely agree. It's the power of delegation. Yes.
mm,
So this question, what are 3 signs that a business owner is ready to create the freedom in their business? So we've talked about what you can do
mm-hmm.
to provide why they should do it. But
Mm-hmm.
if they're still on the fence, like, I kind of want freedom, but I'm not sure, right? Like, what are some signs like
Mm-hmm.
that you can say, you're ready, you could do this?
Okay. Well, so do you have a team, right? Have you taken that step? There's
Mm-hmm.
one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Another is like, is there some urgency to it? Do you have a baby on the way? Are you taking care of a parent? Are you like, you really want to take that trip? Like, is there some really good reason to do this? Because let's be real,
Mm-hmm.
we can suffer for a very long time just on and on and on and not make the change right until that
Mm-hmm.
moment. So, it's got to be, and there's got to be something big enough on your heart to make that change.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just boom. So, I think those would be kind of the two spots. And like, do you like have confidence in your business overall? Like, that you're competent, that your business is making money, what you're doing. It's really a matter of making that transition, and for whatever reason you're ready.
Oh, okay. First of all, I want you to know those were such good things that I really love that. I do love the idea of the sense of urgency. Um, but I also think about the fact that you said that this is a 1-year coaching program, right?
Mm-hmm.
So even if it's not urgent right now,
Mm-hmm.
Murphy's Law says it will be urgent
Right,
at
right,
some
right.
time. And so, I think about the what ifs all the time. I try to think about the
Mm-hmm.
positive side. Like, it's so funny. Me and my husband are opposites on that. He thinks about, well, what if this goes bad? And I'm like, well, what if this goes good? And we just back and forth. But that's a good dynamic because
Mm-hmm.
then we're both planning for, well, what if, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it is going to be something that is going to happen throughout the course of your business. Expected or unexpected, right? So like when you're talking about a baby,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, if you're pregnant, the baby's probably going to be here at some point in time, right? But then even if you have like a parent, right, and the parent is aging, you don't know what could happen. They might be fine today and then they fall down and break a hip and then now they need care, right? So all
Mm-hmm.
kinds of things could happen in that time frame. And now we even have to think about tariffs, right? Like, how much
Yep.
is our costs going to go up? I mean, and I
Right.
know it's not an immediate thing for every business, but it
Right.
really is when you consider how much stuff costs now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
what you're having to pay people and all of that. So I
Yeah.
really like those three things, but urgency is
Yeah.
definitely one of those. Um,
Yeah.
okay, so
Yeah, I just jumping in, that the best defense against all of these shocks from outside, whatever, is having a well-run business,
mm,
right? And so that's the core of what we're about, what I'm about with
yes.
you. Yeah.
Okay, I'm loving that. So, if you could leave people with one last whatever you want to leave, a thought,
Mm-hmm.
a word, a phrase, something to
Mm.
motivate them or something like that, leave the people with something.
All right. Well, I think you mentioned, Mr. Rogers. I'm like, you are enough.
Mhm,
You can do this.
mhm.
And if you want to do this and it's a matter of building skills, then I'm very happy to talk with you about it.
Okay, you see how calm she is and how she's so laid back. She's like, you want to do this. It's like you say it, but then I feel like we should, do like one of those, like from a, like I just feel like you just have this, like, it's just so laid back. Like you should have one of the long cigarettes from back in the day. Be like, I want to do this.
Darling.
Yeah, right. It's just like, dynasty esque. I'm getting that kind of vibe. But for everybody else, listen, this has been a quick little something. We did go a little bit over, but we switched it up a little bit. So, you do what you do. I hope you guys have enjoyed this today as much as I have. And I think it's always interesting. And you're the first, actually. You weren't originally going to be the first, but we had a schedule change. And so now she's our first member that we featured on one of these Give It, Get It Biz series. So
Oh,
you get the first award.
yes.
Out here. So if you guys have not joined, then guess what? We suggest that you should join. Again, you can go right there, giveitgetit.biz. You can join. We have a free version and we have a paid version where you can join the membership. And then you can meet wonderful people like Amanda. If you watch today, or whenever you're going to watch on the replay and you loved what she said, you can still join the membership and you can endorse her over there on the membership as well, right? To say, oh, I love what she said. It was insightful. All of the good things. You needed a long cigarette, you know, Mr. Right, whatever you say. But I really want you to understand when she is saying to you the magic of you can unplug and you can go on vacation when you want to, and you give yourself back that freedom, that is such an important key that as business owners, we don't do enough. And, you know, we over here, we practice self-care and mental wealth, and just being able to do that, even if you don't want to, okay? But the ability, all right? Because some people are workaholics, all right? Even if you don't want to, you have the ability to. And I love the power of being able to say no to things because everything else is flowing the way that it's supposed to. And I think that to me, that's part of freedom, you know, when you're a business owner. So Amanda, thank you so much for being on today. And if you watch live, we appreciate you. If you watch from the replay, we appreciate you as well. And as always, make sure you show up and show out and continue to give it to the people. Bye, guys.
Bye.